Well, as I said yesterday, number one, I'm very grateful and thankful to God, as many people in Africa are believers, one faith or another, that God has spared us from the worst, as we hear from other continents, especially from the West. Many countries have implemented very strict containment measures which have brought difficulties and pain to millions, which I think a bit unnecessarily or even prematurely. But everything said, we are grateful that the impact on the people has not been as bad as everybody else expected from those countries which always think Africa must always be the source and they suffer the worst. In this case, have been spared. But at the same time, a lot of people's lives have changed because of this, because many people have lost employment because of these containment measures. Our economies are attached to the global economies. As the global economies have suffered, our African economies have suffered. So many people have been unemployed, so many organizations closed. But at the same time, we have seen in case of governments that it's not easy. Some have taken advantage of COVID-19, the freedoms. So unfortunately, that some countries have used COVID-19 as an excuse to suppress people's rights and to have people not free in their own countries. They can't gather, they can't assemble, they can't express themselves, all on the pretense of preventing COVID. We have seen it in different countries, which I don't need to mention, but that is not the impact which you would expect from people who are suffering. And also from the people of Africa, as I said last time, maybe this in the case of rule of law and fairness and justice for people, that it has exposed how weak our governments are in terms of enforcement, in terms of justice, in terms of anti-corruption measures, after we have heard so many stories of corruption related to COVID-19 responses. I've been thinking about that, and I'm not so sure that there is a very specific impact of COVID-19 on peace and security as such, apart from what I have said within countries. That countries, I don't think it has brought problems between countries, but within countries, yes. Where the suppression of freedoms is, of course, not a peaceful thing. It's not a secure thing, which must be worked out on. However, when we talk about Africa Continental Free Trade Area, I think COVID-19 has opened our eyes to see the innovative nature of Africans and the spirit of Africans. Because of all this containment, we have been forced to be independent. Even though the Europeans and the Asians have been trying to sell things, there have been a lot of ingenuity of people in terms of medication, for example, have a new look at traditional medicine, which some countries have focused on, and say, well, and try to exchange them. But at the same time, all these innovations by young people, by our own industries, by our own states, to focus on production within Africa. And I think that is the core of Continental Free Trade Area, because what is the use if you are not going to be producing what you actually need, if you are going to be just re-exporting things which you import from other places? But I think what we have seen by the COVID-19 is that really Africa can make hospital beds, can manufacture ventilators, can manufacture and produce mass PPEs, personal protection equipment, which if we enhance this broad 1-point-something billion market, definitely our industries should be developed further because of the demand which we have. And I think that we can produce, even process our own things in terms of food, in terms of medicine, even the vaccines should be produced and distributed in Africa. And I think this is a chance that we have. It has opened our eyes to see the potential of Continental Free Trade Area, but also of what we can produce ourselves. I would like to think that civil society, part of which include churches, which I represent as All Africa Conference of Churches, who deal on a daily basis with the grassroots people, not when there is election, but Every day, we see the impact of poverty and the impact of our own governments when they do not abide by what they say. When they come to the people and tell them what they are going to do and don't do it. Of course, it is our role to call out the governments. And I think civil society must continue, even though I'm afraid in some countries the freedoms of civil society is being contained more and more these days. But actually the role of civil society should be to educate the people about Continental Free Trade Area, to popularize it, but also to support governments when they do the right things, but also to call them out when they don't. Because my question is, when they sign these agreements, are they really serious? Have they read them? Do they intend to implement them? So we must hold them to account, as we have started to do as All Africa Conference of Churches with silencing the guns. We are collecting, I don't know how many thousands of signatures by young people to present to the African Union